What up, my freaks? RuinusInsight here with part 42 of my Total War Warhammer 3 modded Archaon the Everchosen Immortal Empires campaign. So as we saw last time, we had a bunch of battles as we returned to the fray and had a really good ambush with Kuchar as he was hit by Oxyotl on the way to Occam's Forever Maze, our next Dark Fortress site down in the southern Chaos Wastes. Otherwise, the endgame has arrived and plenty of orcs have spawned, some in rather inconvenient locations, like Wurzag, but his was always going to be rather inconvenient as we don't have armies nearby or other than this one Nerath Magath army. So hopefully we can deal with him before he takes too much territory that we annoyingly will have to reclaim, but we'll see. We will overcome as Village will move down here, though it's gonna take him quite a while to move here as well. Anyway, let's get started in terms of what we got to do this time. Now, there are two potential battles that we're going to fight. There's Gulator half-spawn at Loren Forest, which is fairly well defended, and though I don't imagine it would stand too much of a chance against Gulator's army, nonetheless, that's a lot of orkies to be dealing with. The other one would be the southern attack on the Occam's Forever Maze, and you know what? Kuchar had such a great battle last episode. I think we'll start with this one because, well, he deserves it. Deserves a nice coronate reward for himself. We are going to, I guess, take Voice of the Dark Gods. It's not that we super need it or anything, but, well, you gotta be careful, especially on the siege. It looks like our hero Thurman Bjornbach is quite damaged here. Do we need any XP? Not really. Now that we have the Gorby's chariots, we're good, huh? Alright. I guess we'll start building you out to be a fighter, and you're going to need that blade shield, good sir, as otherwise you've been suffering a little bit. We also don't have enough items to actually equip you, as everybody else is equipped, so there's that. Let's get the glittering robe here. I guess we could go for scouting as well. We should probably also get Plague of Rust, but yeah, scouting, glittering robe, whatever. Alright, that looks good to me. Let's see what we're facing off against here. Tons and tons of spawn of Slaanesh, which are going to cause problems, but on the bright side we do have piles of halberds, so hopefully that'll be enough despite them being damaged. Unfortunately, my original plan probably won't work because they'll only have one settlement left and we can't let them keep Occam's Forever Maze. And the one settlement that they will have left will be destroyed by Kroggar. But, well, if that's the fate of the Rapturous Excess, I guess that's their fate. Anyway, let us begin here, and, engagement, 250 likes, and 40 comments in the next episode will be an hour long. That's it. That's the one. Go. Man, the skies are certainly red for a Slaaneshi fortress, though said fortress looks like it's in trouble already. Anyway, here we go. Kuchar on the siege. His army isn't really meant for this sort of thing. It's more to be a high-speed, high maneuverability, or reasonably high-speed, high maneuverability sort of army, which is best for field battles, but nonetheless should still have a fun time here. As to what it will look like depending on the desyncs, we shall see. Generally speaking, in this particular campaign, we've had a lot of desyncs in the field or in the siege battles. Nearly everyone, I think. That said, even with the desync, I think we'll still get some decent shots, so we'll see. Anyway, we're going to move on in. The enemy will just get a Soul Grinder moving out. He immediately tries to go for our Sorcerer, but fortunately our Sorcerer will book it on out of there before taking damage, and we'll start on the Soul Grinder with Kuchar and his Exalted here. Of course, we also have a Blood Shrine in here, providing us that lovely where is it here? Not the Totem of Endless Bloodletting, but the Shrine of Eternal Blood buff. That's a lot of additional armor-piercing damage and melee attack to everybody. Just got to be in melee for a while, and by the looks of it, since the enemy will block off this choke point, which is what we wanted, that's what we'll get. Now, we do have access to tons and tons of piercing bolts of burning or fires of chaos, but this is a Khornate army, so we will not be using magic, even though this would be an ideal situation to do that. And yeah, it's an army-bound ability, but we're still gonna count it as magic. It's cowardly, it's not glorious melee combat, it's not the way that Kuchar or Khorne wants the win here. Anyway, looks like the Soul Grinder has been joined by piles of Hellstriders, Seekers, Demonettes, and Chaos Spawn of Slaanesh, all working together to try to hold us off, though the effectiveness of that remains to be seen. All the while, more of our troops continue streaming into the city, one by one, so as not to get screwed by the pathing, and we're gonna send in our 2 skull cannons as well. They've knocked out the tower, and they're gonna move on in. Here comes a summon. We're not going to cast magics, but Khorne doesn't generally mind summoning magic, or else, well, how would you get bloodletters on the field half the time? Gotta summon demons with rituals, so that's the kind of magic he's okay with, generally speaking, plus buff, debuff, whatever. Anyway, the Soul Grinder goes down. We'll periodically be casting the Glittering Robe on us to buff up our armor. And damn, with all those blood shrines and skull cannons out front, it looks like a pretty big blob of mass out front as well. We're going to continue the summoning as well as the Forsaken and join the fray, and we'll continue taking damage for our units. Otherwise, it's the simplest of battles. Who will come out ahead in this big old brawl? Looks like the enemy has joined some Fiends of Slaanesh to the fray as well, so we'll be having to deal with the Soporific Musk debuffs. Though at the very least, the melee attack debuffs that they offer are going to be fairly negligible, as with all the buffs around, we have pretty darn high melee attack. Khorne's chosen up to 65 melee attack and 103. 123 on the Cornflake's weapon strength. The weapon strength is very high with the fight or die buff at least. And that's the advantage of these brawls. Even without magic, we've got buffs on everybody around. Sadly, we don't have a War Shrine of Khorne, which would help here as well, but the War Shrine is just too slow of a unit to keep in this army. Plus, we'd have to make space for it by deleting one of the doggos, and I just don't want to do that. Now, speaking of doggos, we got some of them charging in, but this appears to be a desync issue, as when I played it, the doggos didn't go here. Instead, they went for the key building and some enemies out here. I believe they were ordered to kill off an enemy cultist, which appears to have moved in here, whereas during the actual fight, when I played it, the cultist was out there. At the very least, though, the brawl is still going roughly the same as everything else. And, the Gorby's chariots are going to move in this way as well. Well, I guess at least we'll get to see them fight, if nothing else. Though, once again, that's not really how I played it. I moved the Gorby's chariots through this breach, like these guys are doing right now with all of the doggos. And they went around killing stuff in the background, like this pile of doggos currently is. Though it appears to be trapped against some Hellflayers and some devoted Marauders of Slaanesh with Hell Scourges. Yeah, this never happened either, but that's okay. Alrighty, well, the contest of the doggos and the Hellflayers just sort of biting at each other ain't gonna be too interesting here, and you just gotta make our way through the breach. And, is that one of the Hell Cannons exploding? Or Skull Cannons, rather? One of the Skull Cannons might have died, but they didn't die when I played it. Now they're all still okay. Well, I guess it was just a attack animation of some sort. Anyway, Gorby's chariots keep moving on through. We get some hits from the poor Gorbies. Not just the Chaos Warrior atop the chariot. There we go, Gorbies. Quack away, my friend, quack away. Haven't had too many chances to do so as yet, but as we continue through the southern Chaos Wastes, hopefully you'll get more chances. Alright, and we continue onward. It looks like the Blood Angels, which were moving around through the breach, have made it into the back of the enemy column. Also didn't happen when I played it, but that's okay. A brawl's a brawl, and Khorne appreciates it. Either way, call it an alternate universe viewing of what might have happened in this particular battle. Especially with Chaos's, well, it wouldn't be too surprising. Archaon has certainly seen some things while traveling through the Chaos Wastes for centuries. Or possibly millennia, because who knows, time is a funny thing and has no meaning in the warp. Anyway, it looks like we're nearly through the enemy line. The Exalted Demonettes are melting away. The bounce power is still only about 60% in our favor. But this is the biggest blob of enemies, and once it falls, the enemy won't have too much left. Looks like our doggos are still running around in the background. I don't recall. Okay, well, this didn't happen either. Oh no, our poor Gorby's chariots are gonna die. At the very least in the desynced replay, but, well, what can you do? Oh, I noticed that the Gorbeast itself had a splash attack that staggered both, or two at the very least, of the Chaos Spawn. Quite nice, and by the looks of it, these guys are fairly beefy. I mean, it's taken these guys a long time to surround and destroy the chariots. Quite impressive, if nothing else. I wonder what heights we could take them, in terms of once they reach sufficient veterancy and various red line buffs. Could be quite curious. And just to see how tanky we can make the chariot. Mostly I'm curious because the regular Chaos Chariots seem to be very, very inferior compared to the Beastmen Razor Gore Chariots because they cause bleed and massive amounts of damage, but the Chaos Chariots do not, and thus don't seem to rack up anything near the amount of kills or the amount of damage dealt. However, if we get a super tanky chariot in the form of the Gorbeasts, who are still alive by the looks of it, or at least one of them is still alive, well, then at least it'll be a somewhat different thing. It'd be nice to keep experimenting with them through to the end of the campaign, even if it did take ages to get to them. I mean, the main issue there wasn't even so much the experience as it was the teching towards them, as there were just so many other things that we wanted to tech up to. Anyway, it looks like the breach has finally fallen and we continue making our way forward. And we just have to surround and destroy the remnants of the enemies here. Looks like the enemy lord has been by and large killed off by Kuhar, or at least heavily damaged, though we won't be chasing him by the looks of it in the replay. I think he just straight up died in the when I actually played it. Anyway, surround and destroy the last of the Chaos Spawn. They're in a pretty bad position. For a Khornate army, we have a lot of anti-large, since this is our Khornate army with halberds. They're probably going to be less effective than, well, Tzeentch Chosen with halberds, since we can't upgrade the Khorne halberdiers to... Alright, a very nice fight for Kuhar, and we managed to take the place of the Khornate way. The Blood Angels were able to face off in a one-on-one against some spawn of Slaanesh, whereas the rest of the army pretty much blobbed up and cut down the enemy with no magics. Beautiful. And a decent amount of cash and XP for reward as well. Kuhar certainly needs the XP. If nothing else, we're obviously going to occupy the place, and we'll take it at tier 3, which ain't horrible. We are going to... I guess start building stuff. Vassal Emissary, we will go for the raid trophies, I guess temporarily, at least for now. We'll go for the Corpse Mound for growth, and we need the Thralls here as well. Alright. Barbarian, student, enemy killed in battle, Path to Glory unlocked. Did you have something that you hadn't unlocked before? I guess you did. Oh, then that's... Oh, Gate of Khorne. Oh, I presume you had to defeat either a Slaaneshi force or you had to defeat an enemy demon force. Now you can summon Bloodletters. Well, that's appropriate. I love it. Very much. All right. Altar... Oh, wow. I thought that they would be willing to peace out more, but they're actually willing to peace out less. Yeah, I have a feeling they're dead. I have a feeling they're dead. It's unlikely that we'll be able to reach them before Krokkar takes them out. The only possible thing that could work is if Kuchar just... or not Kuchar, is if Krokkar just sacks the place and runs away. It's possible. I'm hopeful, but, you know. We'll see. Anyway, let's remove everybody else and then we'll hit Loren Forest with a nice big fight. We are going to, I guess, wait, we want to sack one of these places. I guess sack Evershale, and then hit Torsarwar and then occupy, and then on to the guy in Vale. Afterwards, to resolve this, some damage, but not horrible. Sack, so that you don't waste your time here. And hey, another Forbidden Rod, always nice to have. And then head out to Torsarwar. Alright, and we can occupy that and heal up here. Ooh. Did we have the I don't trust it. Let's just occupy. Another Ether Sword. Kind of meh on it, mostly because of the duration being 30 seconds. If it was like 45 seconds, at least you'd have 50% uptime. And too many item active abilities that don't have a lot of uptime, kinda, I'd honestly prefer something like a Fencer's Blades, or just something that is 100% there. Anyway, we did want to go for Kuran, but since the enemy has spawned a massive pile of Orky armies, I think we're gonna move Jaeger in to reinforce Glugmir. I'm a little bit wary of them lightning striking, but I'm just gonna hope that they don't have the capability as well. It ain't gonna be great if they do. Let's say. I was wondering whether we should ambush, but honestly, if we can get like 4 stacks of Grom's armies attacking us here, that would be pretty great. So I think we'll leave it as is. We are going to... You have Gehenna's Golden Hounds maxed out. Ugh, you don't have a lot of great stuff. I guess we could get Chaos Vanguard. A single point is only melee attack, though. Tempted to say Glittering Robe might be more important, but only at level 1 won't do too much for us, but nonetheless. What about you? You have 2 points to assign, Warp Fire and Chaos Vanguard are nearly maxed. Probably want to be able to cast both Blue Fire and Pink Fire at max levels against massive pile of orcs, though, so I think we'll prioritize those. You can max out Gehenna's, or Glittering Robe, rather, because we'll definitely need it. Or Searing Doom. Nah, I get Searing Doom. It's too spammable, too useful, we can't forego it. You can have... I guess let's put 1 point into Treason of Tzeentch on you, just so that we have access to it. Since we don't have it on Jaeger himself. And there's a lot of Elite Orky stacks right there. Anyway, Valkia. The question for you is, do we take Avathir and go through Torsathai and try to get to wherever the heck Tyrion ran off? Or do we loop back around to take Toranrock and Griffin Gate?
There will always be blood.
You know what, let's take Avathir, or at least sack Avathir, and let's see where Tyrion... Ah, there he is. The question is, can we reach Torsathai if we merely sack this place? Let's find out. Banner of Eternal Flame on the central shielded unit to buff up as many units as we can, and auto-resolve. 20 lost, still more than I'd like, but better than the alternative. Sack the place and stop moving, stop moving. She can reach Torsathai. Oh, beautiful. Oh, I am happy. Was I going for Unholy Resilience for some reason? Because if I was, I don't remember what that was. Let us get... Chaos Vanguard, we really do want the buffs for Hammer into Anvil, but for now, I think we'll forego it. Let's get Hearts of Iron. The Vigor Loss Reduction is always a nice thing to have. We'll bypass Avathir and hit Tyrion at Torsarwar, or Torsathai, rather.
Such meager resistance.
Such a meager resistance. Well, that's not, well, Tyrion won't like hearing that. Alrighty, before we jump on in, these guys are all chosen. You can be now upgraded to a shielded chosen, but at the massive loss of your armor. You know what, I think we'll forego doing that this turn. What we can do is upgrade one of the knights, or one of these guys into knights. Chaos Knights of Khorne, like so. And you need to be rank 8. You're rank 7. We'll soon have our first Skull Crusher. Well, second technically Skull Crusher, but first basic Skull Crusher, I guess. Alright. And none of you can be upgraded to Chosen of Corman Dulaxes, but that's alright. Alright, I'm excited. We got a good battle ahead of us, and Tyrion's got some decent stuff, but it's Tyrion himself that we're mostly concerned with. Look at those stats. I'm very curious to see if Valkia can take him. He hits way harder, plus he regenerates quite a bit. Teensy bit less HP, but considerably more armor, bigger charge bonus, and most of his stats are superior. Considerably more melee attack. That magical damage is also not great for us. And he's about equivalent in terms of speed, but he is on the ground. Alright, well, let's see if we can manage. Go.
Devoted legion of killers! I do not ask you to fight. I am telling you to fight.
Alright, we'll fight. I mean, what else would we be doing? Also, it looks like despite being a dark map, the lighting looks pretty darn decent, at least from this angle, since we can clearly still make out our army. Anyway, here we go. Finally, Tyrion versus Valkia on top of a pretty big ol' nice stack. He's got plenty of his elite units as well. Some regiments of renown in there, I see, and I think I saw some exalted units as well, so they'll be nice and powered up. Now, obviously, for this army, we move the Chaos Warriors of Khorne with shields out front in the hopes of taking damage to them with the shields, or taking damage on the shields, while the units with dual axes sort of are staggered back a little bit. Valkia is going to drop Sleipnir through some of the enemy range units. We're not going to count that as a spell because it's an ability she has. But it is fairly effective. It's going to not actually kill off any of the Lothern Seaguard, but it drops them down to about 40% and 50% HP, which is pretty decent. The more of these range units we knock out this way, the better. This is also going to be the first time we're making use of the... well, not the first time, but we are going to be making use of some cav, and... let's see, where are we here? We've got the Marauder Horsemen of Khorne with throwing axes here. I know, they're there. And we've got the Chosen Chaos Knights of Khorne. Chosen Knights of Khorne. They're all Chosen Knights. Alright. They're going to sort of move through our own formation into the enemy backline and hopefully prevent those range units from doing too much damage. Here comes the summon. Spear of Sleipnir at the very least allowed us to damage an enemy unit heavily enough to get both summons on the field, though they take instant damage, and quite a lot of it, I might add. The Chaos Spawn drop by like 80% of their HP in just a few seconds, and this buys a few extra seconds for the rest of our army to move on in without getting pincushioned by the enemy range. With the enemy distracted, Valkia is going to drop down and go directly for Tyrion. It looks like, however, he is a coward and gets the Flamespire Phoenix to attack Valkia at the same time as him. So it'll be a little bit of a 2-on-1. Valkia is going to activate her Demon Shield, at least for a little while. There's a few more units moving around, but this is probably not a contest that they want to be anywhere near. We do drop our Bloodthirsters in. Slaughter and Carnage join the fray, though they don't target Tyrion, or rather one of them targets the Flamespire Phoenix and then the other targets the Mage. There is also an enemy noble who's hanging around, and by hanging around, it looks like he's attacking Valkia as well. 3-on-1 now. Tyrion, a noble, and that Flamespire Phoenix. We just gotta peel them all away, so we're going to make use of our Chaos Warriors as well as our big Bloodthirsters to do so. In the meantime, while all that is happening, the rest of our army has made it in. Our single unit of trolls, still temporary, but been with us for so long, whacking away. We also moved our 2 units of Marauder Horsemen of Khorne sort of into the center of the army, such that they can activate their bonus damage ability and buff up a good portion of our forces. Valkia has managed to reduce Tyrion down to half HP while fighting the Noble and Phoenix, and Tyrion has run away to join the fray against the Chaos Warriors of Khorne there. Wow. Wow, Tyrion. That's disappointing, sir. You should have really continued fighting Valkia. Though perhaps it might have been smart to do this in the sense that he did allow her abilities to end, so she is just, well, abilityless at this point, and will, it looks like, continue fighting, and once again, the noble will help out. Damn. Tyrion, would you please just one-on-one? Anyway, they're going to continue this duel for a while the Bloodthirsters hopefully find and kill off that mage, if they already haven't. They don't like mages, I hear. While the rest of our main line is engaged. Fortunately, the balance of power is at about 65% maybe in our favor. Valkia and Tyrion both continuing to take damage, looking roughly even, though once again, Tyrion isn't fighting alone. And we're chasing down a decent amount of enemy range units within these woods, though it is a dark enough map that the contest in the forest is very, very difficult to see. Poor little Silver Helms getting wrecked in here as well, and stand no chance against the Chaos Warrior or Chaos Knights. By the looks of it, the main army is also on the verge of collapse, as most of the enemy units have taken heavy damage. At this point, with the battle nearly ours, we send everybody in to break Tyrion for good. There we go, and down he goes. Had to do it that way as Valkia got very, very badly beat up. By the end of it, they were very close to even, but I wasn't really willing to risk the off chance that Valkia dies. Especially considering Tyrion had help for pretty much the entire fight and still was at about half HP, while Valkia was at about 3/4. Once again, this is me missing that dual sort of function that Three Kingdoms had. It was really useful for actually getting those epic duels for lords. But anyway, with that, the enemy army is shattered. I'm pretty sure we don't actually have to chase, and thus we won't. Finally, Valkia, it's been a long chase all the way from the desert, all the way from the Red Desert and the Exiles of Nehek when she first sighted Tyrion down near Hag Hall. She's been trying to get at him this entire time and finally manages to do so. Lovely. Damn, we got a lot of money for that. 23k, very nice. So at this point, a single shrine costs like 60k, so that's 1/3 of a single shrine. Not the war shrine, the shrines in our settlements, because building every single one increases the cost of all the other ones. But anyway, a very nice fight, a close victory, and just as Khorne would prefer, the fight between Tyrion and Valkia seemed relatively even to me. Unfortunately, it wasn't quite a duel, and because Tyrion just kept asking for help from that noble for basically the entire fight, and Flamespire Phoenix as well. So Valkia was taking Tyrion, a noble, and a Flamespire for a while, and then just Tyrion and the noble until Slaughter and Carnage came in and killed the noble off. Maybe what I should have done is targeted the noble first, but well, a little bit too late. Anyway. Let's say it was a relatively even duel-wise, at least in terms of what we saw. The Phoenix did a great job, though, because our army is primarily flaming attacks. The enemy didn't, well, the Phoenix didn't take much damage. But anyway, I'm not sure whether we can risk sacking, so we're gonna occupy, because we want to heal up. More melee attack for the army, very nice, and weapon strength +5 when attacking all characters faction-wide, great. Free spell shield, a path to glory for... I don't know who Kaiga's Soul Thief is. Somebody somewhere. Somebody somewhere. And Valkia, you're gonna heal up. You could really use a little bit more regeneration as well, but, well. Wait. Just out of curiosity. 1495 and 2 Unholy Resilience. 1495 and 2, yeah, she was maxed out in terms of how much healing she was getting anyway. Damn, well that made this point a complete waste. I guess this was already 50% of her HP. Oh well, what can you do? I was hoping to make some use of that, but alas, not this time. Anyway, let's continue with whatever else it is we have to do. Gulator still has to fight together with Bellacourt. Chant is still moving southward towards Beckhofen, and I guess you can land at Zavastra. Land, because, you know, he's the flying army. And while at Zavastra... Go, go, go. We can summon another lord so he can take territories while you sort of sit there. There we go, beautiful. Alrighty, Gulator. Oh, damn it, already. How about Norvegicust? You? Alright, how do we do this? We're going to move you in to sack this place. And then we'll move Valmir in to occupy it. I'll resolve this for obvious reasons. Damage once again, but it is what it is. Sack. And... okay, good, you didn't move that way. Free Lichbone Pennant. Maybe I should have moved you in to help reinforce, but too late now. Go to Doomglade and occupied, allowing Norvegicus to move up here instead. Occupy. Lovely. And Doomglade, and I didn't... no, these guys aren't destroyed because they still have a little settlement out here, but we'll head towards it whenever we can. Let's get you a Twisted Relic for now, a repair. And we gotta give these territories to somebody, but, well, no, we can't at the current time. Go into March Stance, which actually doesn't move you any further, which means there's no need to go into March Stance. Or, oh, this is attrition-y. Go right here. More likely than not, they'll take Grand and Massive, but will want to destroy this army, so if they do, they will die. And I guess we're heading out this way anyway, because right now we're not at war with Kroq-Gar, though that will soon change, assuming we still have the time. As in, left in the campaign. Kagan, you're gonna move with these guys so we can leave you alone. Glugomir, you're waiting for the orcs. Well, in fact, both of you are waiting for the orcs, so... and just keep on waiting. Going to Fires of Chaos. I was just wondering which stance you two should use. Bellacourt, you're fighting with Gulator, and we're good. Alright, let's do the buildings. Or did I do the building? I did the buildings between the episodes, didn't I? Or did I? Well, I guess we have new stuff that we've conquered. Torso War, let's get the wood, though it doesn't really do much for us. And let's immediately upgrade that Dark Fortress to Tier 4 as well. That Bloom of Chaos, or Bloom of Nurgle, or whatever it's called, is working for us. Alright, and that was that. Did we do all the gifts? Oh! Oh, right, we have 2 Coronate gifts. I got scared for a second that that was the wrong thing, but no, we're fine. Do we still have Marauder? Yeah, we have Marauder horses, don't we? I'm gonna do Marauder Horsemasters count as Marauder Horsemen for the purpose of the gifts. And these guys are gonna take forever. Do we have any knights here yet? We have no knights. It's a tier 5 now. It's been like that for a while. We were slowly able to build it up and still no knights. Well, that's not nice. Well, that's not nice. I'm not even sorry. Alright, let's... we should probably summon another Chaos Sorcerer Lord here just to keep an eye on the place. It doesn't really matter what kind since we won't keep them. And... yeah, still none. Still none. Just wanted to make sure. Wow, can certainly get them at a high level, but... game. Hopefully we'll get some decent chance that we won't. But what can you do? I guess we could build another one here and here, but frankly, considering how long it's taking just to get one, we'll probably never get them anyway. Gulator, time for you to fight again, sir. We will send Bellacourt to help you out, not that I think you need the help, but I do think Bellacourt needs the XP. So they'll fight together. Gulator can show Bellacourt the ropes, and there we go with Bellacourt's army reinforcing. I mean, that's a lot of elite units in there. This army now is a decisive victory, though casualties. Nonetheless, I think it is worth fighting, so go. Alrighty, Gulator giving a great pre-battle speech, as always. And ooh, the lighting is making all the colors pop as well. I was like seeing the little piles of Forsaken sort of just standing in the rain there, waiting to get engaged with the enemy. Speaking of getting engaged with the enemy, the Black Pit Tribe. Is that what these guys are called? They are from the Black Pit. Anyway, but anyway, these orcs were not part of the endgame scenario, but we're going to force them to be. We're going to start the battle off with the units of Hounds of Pestilence engaging on the rightmost flank, and we are going to reinforce them with the Exalted Hero, Horder to the Foul Feast, and Slime Trail, and Poxmouth. And we're going to try to help out. There is a fairly decent pile of enemy units there, but because of this little cliffside, this little landslide, whatever you want to call this thing, impassable terrain, the enemy army is not able to reinforce the flank, and we are certainly going to take the opportunity to destroy everything here while the enemy is left unsupported. Granted, we are unsupported as well, but our Hounds of Pestilence have done so great throughout, or Hounds of Decay, whatever, have done so great throughout the campaign, and are just so powerful at this point that they're going to be able to function here relatively unsupported for a while at least, just fine. Anyway, the Manticores join the fray as well. There's some biggins and orc boys here that were summoned. And the enemy has some Snotling pump wagons as well, and it is the spiky rollers, so they have their armor sundering and are fairly great damage dealers, and also won't easily get trapped. That said, they are still going to suffer pretty darn greatly against the Hounds of Pestilence. In the meantime, Be'lakor has arrived and has brought two great Chaos Dragons to the fray, who are going to drop down on some Error Boys, as the Error Boys here are going to try to fire upon our Hounds of Pestilence. We can't have that, so we'll rip them apart a little bit while Be'lakor flies overhead and goes after the enemy Orc Shaman. Alright, can't let the enemy be casting, and Be'lakor should be able to rip the Shaman apart relatively quickly. Frankly, considering the size disparity here, he should just be able to stomp on him and instantly kill him, but, well, I guess it's going to take a little bit more than that. Alrighty, well, keep smacking him around with your shadowy blade, whatever, and, oh wow, you hit pretty hard, 817. Yeah, a couple more hits and the enemy will go down. I'm going to join the dragons to the fray as well, helping out those manticores and the hounds, though I have to wonder. I think at this point in the game, the manticores might be more tanky. 5% ward save and 55% physical versus the 10% physical and 10% ward save on the Great Chaos Dragons. The Chaos Dragons do have quite a bit more HP, though. And more armor, but I'm still inclined to say that the Manticores are probably more tanky, especially as they do apply poison to everything nearby. And since they're not as big targets, they're not going to have as many units hitting them either. Anyway, Be'lakor has one more shot. Are the enemy catapults really firing on Be'lakor? Well, that's a waste. That is indeed a waste, and drop down, and ooh, very nice final blow, taking the head of the Orc Shaman. Beautiful. And now Be'lakor will turn around and just menacingly saunter towards those enemy catapults who are wasting their shots, while Gulator leads the rest of our force into battle. Frankly, we probably didn't even need to apply the Forsaken and the spawn of Nurgle to this. Here come the Chaos Dragons to rejoin the fray, the two hanging around together. 2 heads, 2 dragons, 4 heads, whatever. I'm seeing double here, 4 crusties. We are going to get those Chaos Dragon breaths upon the enemy and then drop them down once again into those Error Boys. They just can't catch a break as they're constantly being harassed by the big old dragons. Most of the enemy army is also now engaged. Be'lakor has also brought his soul grinders to play. Got that soul grinder of Khorne whacking away with that burning sword and occasionally getting cannon shots out on the enemy. Dragons and soul grinder and Be'lakor just towering over everybody here. Be'lakor has found the enemy Black Orc Big Boss as well, and it looks like another duel will happen. Though it looks like the Black Orc Big Boss wants no part of this. Which does make sense. A decent part of the enemy line is being overrun. Even the Black Orcs are having a pretty bad day, and by the looks of it, the enemy army will shatter. We even had extra marauders from Be'lakor that we just didn't need to or want to use. Frankly, they would have just been in the way here. A very, very decisive victory for these two. But that's hardly surprising seeing how Gulator has performed throughout this campaign. Alright, 3 losses. I would say that was pretty horrifyingly effective. Looks like 1 kill went to the Orc Boar boys, and 1 kill to the regular Orc boys. And that's it. So it looks like the 3rd loss was to friendly fire, probably from one of the ranged attacks from one of the soul grinders. We inflicted 33% of the casualties to our army ourselves. Oh, alright. Well, that was always going to happen because Gulator's army is disgusting. Well, I mean, disgustingly effective, let's say. It's not like it's just like an overpowered combination or anything like that. It's not like it's like a super doom stack or anything. It's just Forsaken and Chaos Spawn. We've had them since the very, very start of the campaign. Anyway, we're gonna sack the place and we have our minion lord take it. And oh, is that another Crown of Everlasting Glory? Yes, please. Every single one of those is a power up to our faction, just because it basically makes the lord invincible. Kagan, you were summoned specifically to do this. Occupy. Lovely. Alright, Loren Forest secured. We hardly need it, so we can go immediately into they've come to the wrong place, repair it briefly, but then we'll trade it to one of these factions nearby. We are going to start moving as well. Sadly, Gulator cannot reach this. Can Be'lakor? No, neither one of them can reach it. What about Kaigasol? Okay, Kaigasol, you can't move. Gulator. You're so close to being able to reach the Black Pit. Wait, what if we move Be'lakor? We move you like this. Was he in the way? Nah, he wasn't in the way. Oh well, move close to it. And then as soon as the orcs are done, we move southward to start combating both Vlad and the additional orcs. All at the same time. You sure you can't reach this? Yeah, you can't reach this. Alright, fine. Go into raiding stance? Yeah, fine. I just wanted to see whether it could make it work, but oh well. Well, you can go here as well, Be'lakor. Everybody else is looking good. I believe we've moved everybody else, so we're gonna just quickly, briefly check Diplo and get a move on. Do we need to gift Chaos anything? No, not that I'm aware of. Keep the Slaaneshi stuff as it currently is, as we're not looking to get any additional Slaaneshi units at the current time. Diplomacy.
Dreadlord. Oh. Horned prophet.
Looks like nobody's anywhere near to become vassal. Clan Worms really wants peace, but there isn't really too much purpose in that. They won't even vassalize. Nobody wants to be our vassal anymore. Surprising. Everybody else, alright, Sildra Tor wants an alliance, but we don't want one, primarily because we'll probably destroy them and then transfer the Petrified Forest to the Cult of Pleasure. Or we could make them a vassal as well. It's not like they dislike each other. They do a little bit, but not so much. I'll think about it. It's not super relevant either way. Or we just ignore them, leave them alone. Anyway, skip, Path to Glory, fine. Damaged building in Fort Berg Bray. Oh, right. That's fine. Outpost upgrade available? No, we need to save the money for our ludicrously expensive buildings. We will go for, I guess, exploit vassals here. It's going to switch later on. But we might be able to make use of it to move a little bit further, faster, etc. Harder, better, faster. And turn. Alright, let's see what we got. Let's hope that Oh, he actually took Black Crag. Oh, Scarby, you actually did something. I'm going to reward you with a lot of territory just for that one move. For that one thing that you did. Because it's more than like 99% of all of our other vassals. Basically, Malekith and Scarbrand have done some stuff, and I don't think anybody else has done anything. Thorek is back. And he's going to sack it similarly because he's afraid to wind up there. Yeah, the orcs are going to retake Barak Var, but we were always expecting that. They're going to retake the Dok Karaz, but, well, they've spawned here, and it's probably going to be a problem for them. And, it did work. It did indeed work. 1, 2, 3, 4 full stacks. That's what I like to see. A valiant defeat, you say? Spite Nixotas, Garam the Punch, Fert Ashnaur, and Glugzag. Isn't Fert Ashnaur the lord of another faction? I guess they confederated somebody, but anyway. Anyway, looks like Jaeger will be in the lead. Alright, let's see if we can do some damage to this army before the rest of the armies arrive. Zinch and Nurgle together, go.
Teach them to fear the eldritch energies of Zenith.
Alrighty, here we go. You thought the Black Pit tribe had a lot of orcs? Well, they had nothing compared to what we've got against us here. More than 8,000 orcs arrayed against us, 4 full stacks. They could make a full stack of nothing but black orcs, trolls, and large entities like giants and Ragnaroks. And that's without counting all the cav and all the other extra units that would come into the other 3 stacks, so it's gonna be a good fight. I just know it. It's guaranteed, as long as my PC doesn't explode, because there's a lot of units on the field. And frankly, I do apologize, because we're liable to lose a bunch of frames here, because it's just a little bit much for my PC to handle. But what can you do? And what can you do? And my PC was making some interesting noises while the battle was being played. I guess it got really hot, but hey, at least it didn't shut down. Anyway, we're going to start the battle off with, once again, and given the old sniping action to the enemy Ragnarok, dropping it down to half HP with a combination of blue fire and magical javelins from our soul grinders. Unfortunately for us, it looks like the AI is wise to the trick, sending in its cav to try to run down those soul grinders, or at the very least, prevent them from sniping its Arachnaroks. Great job to the AI. We're going to drop our coterie, or our command squad, down upon the enemy, get that pink fire through some of the enemy gobos, and allow the units of soul grinders to escape. We're also going to give them some covering fire, quite literally, as we cover both them and those that chase them with fire. And oh, I love the fire units. They're just so great to watch. The enemy orc biggins, or these are Savage Orc Biggins. High veterancy Savage Orc Biggins, 72 melee attack, are going to run right into those flames, but I don't think the War Paint is going to save them from that one. The enemy moves in, but we will countercharge them with some Marauders to allow our Flamers to keep flaming, and the Marauders to hold the enemy back. In the meantime, I got so excited I started losing my voice, but maybe I'm just generally losing my voice. Battle keeps on going. Just take a drink here. Alrighty. Let's see how we're doing. The balance of power is roughly even, and it's probably going to be roughly even for a while. There are still so many reinforcements to make it on the field. Unfortunately, that enemy Ragnarok, which got so heavily damaged by our sniping, hasn't been able to really do anything so far. Our Nurglish army has also arrived on the field. We've surrounded Grom the Paunch here with our piles of Hounds of Decay, though by the looks of it, because of Helm of Discord and and sundered armor, it's really starting to make the hounds a lot more fragile, and we're going to need to be careful. But we've got great unclean ones and beasts of Nurgle with the piles of Nurglish marauders moving in, and they should be able to hopefully surround and destroy Grom and his own little coterie. Alright, and it looks like the first of the enemy waves has failed to breach the lines of flamers. We're going to move them up ahead to deal with the second enemy wave. Plenty of black orcs in this one. 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 that I can spot. But the Nurgle units have arrived, and it's not just Tzeentch holding the ground now. Looks like some boar boys are going to try to charge us. All the enemy cav have been doing a fairly decent job at trying to get engaged with the flamers, and smart to do so at that, but once again we are keeping our spear and I guess axe-wielding marauders nearby to countercharge enemies specifically that do this. It does mean that we can't send our marauders, generally speaking, away to fight elsewhere, but it does mean that we can dish out damage with the flamers with the ability to float them away at any moment. Which is great, because the flamers are always going to be doing much more damage than those mere marauders. Looks like an enemy giant has been basically destroyed. Another magical javelin coming down from the soul grinder, and the giant will crush some gobos beneath it. What a huge freaking fight. This was just an absolute mess to control, and I had to sort of blob up several units together. I'm more or less controlling the flamers in 2 groups. And the melee blobs in a couple groups as well, because damn. Alright, I'm moving up the flamers and getting ready to fire once more. Looks like a smoke bomb comes down from some nasty skulkers, but the enemy's still failing to get through our lines. I'm gonna have to reposition our flamers slightly, however, as they cannot fire where they will even slightly clip our own units. We've seen the flamers kill off, or heavily damaged so many of our units before. Let's not risk that again. Giant pile of black orcs in the center here. Looks like the black orcs have been moving together by and large, with tons of biggins and regular orcs as well. I'm gonna have to be careful about that, but that is also a ripe target for the flames of change. Though it looks like the savage orcs will book it forward once again and charge towards our flamers. Gonna have to book it out of there ourselves, but once again the flamers do move quite a bit faster than infantry does. Our soul grinders, unfortunately, while they have done a great job sniping enemies thus far, have been forced to engage in melee, as our marauders are starting to suffer and break. 1, 2, 3, 4 marauder units running here. Running away, and I think that this one is by and large destroyed as well. Very little HP on that one, so 5 units of marauders are out of there. Some of them will come back, but some of them will not, as they're too heavily damaged. Ooh, getting some more of those melee animations on the Exalted Flamer. There you go. Alright, getting a few hits in melee and then back off as the Savage Orcs can chase it. Keep trying to hold as many enemies as we can, and we did peel away one of our War Shrines of Nurgle from the Nurgle army, where it can support our Soul Grinders. Oh my lord, I love Flamer units. They're just so great. Ooh, and it looks like a pile of black orcs has surrounded the Great Unclean Ones and the Beasts of Nurgle. This is a pretty interesting contest, but our monstrous units absolutely tower over the enemy, while the enemy lacks too many monstrous units of their own, as we've been sniping them with Soul Grinders, with Blue Flames, or Blue Fires of Tzeentch, and with the Flamers as well, who actually dish out very solid damage to single entities as well. Alright. And our line of Nurgle units are holding and a charge into the flanks of the enemy with the Marauder Horsemen, just to make sure we give chase to Grom. He is wavering. We gotta chase him down to make sure that he routs. That said, there are still 40 enemy units on the field. Look at all these reinforcements that still have to move on in. There's still plenty of work to do here, and we've been fighting non-stop for about 6 minutes. Damn. This is like a final battle worthy sort of fight. I'm not sure that we can get a bigger fight than this in this campaign. The fact is that all of these armies sort of stayed together, which isn't liable to happen with the other factions, but man, what a fight. Sort of a pseudo-final battle, let's say. And I like the fact that it's 2 of our new armies that got this. I like that so much. As a lot of the other armies have had a lot of chance to play, these 2 have barely had any chances to play, and they get probably the best battle in the campaign. Look at those flames go, though the flames can't go forever. We're actually starting to run out of ammunition, below half on some of them, and I think one of the Exalted Flamers is almost completely out of ammunition as well, which is quite neat. Nurglish and Tzeentch units working together to hold back a tide of trolls. But the trolls aren't going to be too threatening to the Great Unclean Ones, and beasts, especially with the Shrine of Nurgle, keeping them healed among them. Alright, and the Flamers keep maintaining the best positions that they can in the center of the battlefield, picking their targets as soon as an enemy is not engaged with our own units. There we go, gonna get a few hits on some enemy Spider Riders there. There we go, nice and cooked and crispy. Tactically, there isn't really too much to say anymore. We've devolved essentially into 2 blobs. The Nurglish blob, which is more or less at full HP, because everything is self-healing itself in there, and then the remnants of the Tzeentch blob. Pretty much all of the Marauders of Tzeentch have routed. Some of them are rallying, but they're so heavily damaged that we probably won't be able to use them again. And by the looks of it, 2 have run off the field since we got a couple of reinforcements moving in from the garrison. But the Flames keep on coming, and more enemy units coming in as well. So many works to burn, but well, our forces have got to appreciate this. What a glorious frickin' fight. There we go. And it's certainly showing off the spectacle of the game, I guess, in general, and of the Flamer units as well. Anyway, Soul Grinders are still holding. One of them is below half HP now, but that Chaos War Shrine of Nurgle is still near them, so they should be okay, as long as the shrine doesn't go down. They also have a little bit of those anti-large Marauder Spears defending, though at this point we've used, I think, every single one of our melee attack buffing abilities, so there won't be too much more of that. And let's see, about a quarter of HP left on the Exalted Flamers, but still plenty of shots to come in. There we go. And some Bone Club is checking out. Savage Orc Biggins moving in, or at least trying to move in. Not a good idea to have a very infantry-heavy army when you're faced off against an army like ours. Those 2 units get pretty much completely deleted, though our own units will charge through some of those flames. But they did, despite being Marauder Horsemen, they have some pretty decent mass as they send plenty of those Orky units flying. We also do get a unit of Flamers around the enemy so that they can hit our enemies in the flanks / the rear without damaging too many of our own units. That said, there are still 40 enemy units on the field, and reinforcements continually make it in. Soon we will be out of ammunition on the Flamers, and then we're going to have to kill the enemy the old-fashioned way. Although by the looks of it, the Nurgle army, or the Nurgle portion of our army, is still okay, leaving slime trails all over the place and chasing down enemy trolls, Black Orcs, and any other elites that they can. Trying to go for the hardest targets while we leave the infantry to the Tzeentchans, which have been so adept at obliterating them. Not that I don't think that the Nurglites could kill off the infantry, or that the Tzeentchans can cook off the elites or snipe the elites. But this was the more efficient, let's say, way to do it. Anyway, moving some of our badly hurt Marauders back into the fray, all to surround this Chaos War Shrine and those Soul Grinders, while the fight continues. Alright, and obviously this entire time on the flanks we've had our units of Marauder horses and Hounds of Decay running around, trying to chase enemies down. It looks like Glugmir has also gotten pretty darn badly beat up here. One of our Exalted Flamers completely out of ammunition now. But we continue to advance, and ooh, one of our Great Unclean Ones has spotted an enemy giant. Looks like the Great Unclean One gets hit with some Error Boy shots. But we're going to pop a Miasma of Pestilence from the Great Unclean One on the Giant to reduce its melee attack. Though with the sneaky stab in its melee attack is basically still up to where it normally would be. Man, this battle has been going on for 12 minutes non-stop now. Absolutely fantastic. I genuinely don't recall having such a long straight-up field battle for absolute ages. Alright, and the enemy continues moving in. The Giant's still fighting with our Great Unclean One, as we can see. The Flamer's still sort of hanging around in the middle between our two blobs of God-sworn units. And two more Giants have joined the fray as well. Lots and lots of those big old entities, but since the enemy sort of moved them in one by one, or maybe not one by one, but they didn't all enter the battlefield at the same time, they're still gonna suffer. Flamers and Soul Grinders now targeting this Savage Giant, and will force it to rout, and by the looks of it, finally, the entire enemy army will give it up. Very, very nice. 13 minutes of a straight combat. Or maybe a little less, maybe 30 seconds less than that, but damn. So many great shots of the Flamers working. Basically every single one of our units had to fight, and since a decent amount of our reinforcements moved on to the field, a decent amount of our own Marauders were routed there. Hardly surprising, considering we were using Marauders against the likes of Trolls, Giants, Black Orcs, and Biggins and whatnot. But I think, or I would imagine, that after this battle they will or should have leveled up enough to be able to be upgraded. Anyway, we're obviously going to give chase to as much of the enemy armies as we can, but we'll do so off screen. Man, what a battle. I am fairly sure that was the biggest battle I've fought on the channel, or at the very least the longest straight up field battle that was a just straight up non-stop fighting. There were longer battles, but that involved a lot of running and kiting and whatnot. But certainly nothing of this level. Oh, yeah, 1 second. Sorry about that, had to move my cat. Anyway, very, very long battle indeed. And everybody got to play. One of our Hounds of Decay got fairly badly damaged, actually. Probably won't be able to auto-resolve the remnants of these forces, and they do have a lot of forces that remain of those 4 stacks. 8,000 orcs, lots of elite entities. I'll just barely managed to miss out on knocking out that giant. 30k, 30k, 69 nice K damage on one of the Flamers, and 70k on another one. The fires of Zinch certainly burn brightly. And 535 kills and 96k damage on Jaeger here. Never expected him to be as strong a lord and army as he ended up being, but well, he certainly showed up in the endgame. Damn, what a fight. I really like it when the endgame battles sort of all hit you at once with all the blobs together. Sorry, my cat's goofing off. Anyway, I think with that we are most definitely out of time, and I should probably feed my cat as well. We are going to kill the captives here, and we will not have time to fight this again. Oh, they'll attack us again. Was it even worth it? Maybe. Maybe we can start the next episode off with this. I mean, it's going to be a minor battle compared to what we just fought, but might still be worth our time considering we're damaged. Anyway, with that, I am calling it here a big old battle and hopefully more big battles to come as we head through this Orky endgame. Don't forget to leave those likes and comments below, especially to the engagement threshold, or else the channel, or else we get banished to the shadow channel. Anyway, I've said the stuff, all glory to the algorithm, and thanks for watching.